And I had to go through, and I still do, fake stories, fake polls. And I had polls for the election that showed I was going to get swamped, and I won in a landslide. They were fake polls because polls are tough. You know, when you get a fake poll, I get them today. I saw one today that I'm at 40%. 40%. I'm not at 40%. I'm at much higher than that. I mean, I'd love to run against anybody. The real polls say you kill everybody. It wouldn't even be close. But you go through the fake polls, you go through the fake stories. And I said, you know, it was good because this is really a much more powerful term than I would have had if I had run, because it was just one of those things. There would be nothing to compare it to. And now they compare it to Biden and that horrible, horrible administration. And I mean it, it is more powerful. I was thinking, as you were saying, that running again for a third time after having gone through what we went through the second time, which was so horrible. So much cheating, so much deception and viciousness, and you could see what they were going to do. And I'm here now, and it's a much more powerful term than my second term would be. And much more powerful. And one of the reasons is everybody sees how bad they were. And I had to go through, and I still do, fake stories, fake polls. I mean, I had polls for the election that showed I was going to get swamped, and I won in a landslide. They were fake polls because polls are tough. You know, when you get a fake poll, I get them today. I saw one today that I'm at 40%. 40%. I'm not at 40%. I'm at much higher than that. I mean, I'd love to run against anybody. The real polls say you kill everybody. It wouldn't even be close. But you go through the fake polls, you go through the fake stories. And I said, you know, it was good because this is really a much more powerful term than I would have had if I had run, because it was just one of those things. There would be nothing to compare it to. And now they compare it to Biden and that horrible, horrible administration. And I mean it, it is more powerful. Our military is much more powerful. We rebuilt it mostly in the first term. Then they gave away a chunk of it. And as much as it was, it's very small relatively, Tom. But we gave it to the Taliban. Just walked out. We could have taken it with us. They said, oh, I think it's cheaper to leave the planes. Just put a little jet fuel and fly it to a neighbor or fly it right home. Sir, I think it's cheaper. I think we'll save money by leaving a $150 million jet on the runway. These people are crazy. But I said, and I've said to a lot of people, it's much better what happened. But not for you people, it's not. And then I go back and say, but I wish it didn't, because every one of your loved ones would be alive today. Everyone in this room, I think. Maybe there's one where could have sneaked through during our term, but I don't think so. We had a very tough border. We solved it in 2016, and we had a very strong border. I would say nothing is as strong as what we have now, but we had a very strong border. We had a good border. We had a sane border. It was sane. And I say, I like this much better. Much more respect. You know, you read about all these crazy shooters, but they only go after consequential presidents. They don't go after non-consequential presidents, you know. If you take a look, Abraham Lincoln, some big one. John Kennedy, in a certain way, was very consequential. He represented something very important. He was there for 1,000 days, as you know, the book, 1,000 days, but he was consequential. There was a glamour, there was something good for our country, right? But they consequential, and I was told that. I saw that the other day. They said they only go after consequential. So maybe I want to be a little bit less consequential. Can we hold it back a little bit, please, Tom? Can we just, like, nice and easy? Let's be a normal president for a little while. Because we had the greatest first term, I think, of any president in history. A lot of people have said that. Even radical left people have said that. And so it's, you know, but the one problem is that, and every time I say it, I go back to the one thing. I said, but we wouldn't have had 25 million people allowed to come into our country, totally unchecked, totally unvetted. And those are the people that destroyed your lives. They destroyed your lives. They wouldn't be there. So I always say I like it better, but there's one thing I don't like better, and that's what they did. Because I think that's the single biggest problem. You know, he gave us inflation, highest inflation we've ever had. I solved that. Right now inflation's at a very low number. How about gasoline? I was in Iowa, $1.85 a gallon. I solved that. I did a great job with that. Prices are coming way down, and I'll get them down further. But, Christ, no matter. By the way, if I came up with a cure for cancer, they would say, he should have done it years ago. There's not a thing I can do where these people are going to give me credit, and that's okay because we won in a landslide, so the people understand. People understand. But the one thing that I regret about the election and the process, because it's a much bigger, more important, you look at what we're doing throughout the world, we're respected like we've never been before. But the one thing that I can't do anything about is that he allowed 25 million people, many of these murderers, drug lords, criminals, people from mental institutions, they emptied their mental institutions, Tom, is that right? All over the world. Not just in South America. They emptied their jails, many of them from all over the world. Why? Why would we do this? And they walk in, nobody even asks for, do you have an identification? Do you have an ID? It's so crazy. The mayor of New York, and he's a very nice person. I met him, but his ideology is not too good. But we're having a massive snowstorm right now.